Blog Talk Radio.
Out here in Birmingham, UK, we stay tuned to that Debate Talk for You radio show. Just want to shout out my man Sal and all the other hosts. Make sure you keep it locked right here from the Express Truth. Peace.
Shalom, shalom, Sal Showtime, and all the Debate Talk for You listening audience. This is Mikael Ben Yisrael, yours truly, coming straight out of Chi-Town. LG Love all day. This is the best show in the nation that brings the young conscious minds to awaken the dead. Keep doing your thing, Showtime. We're going to keep bringing in truth. In Jesus' name, the Mashiach. Shalom to all the nation of Israel.
Miss the best debate show via internet, Debate Talk Radio. Check out the schedule for Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time or at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. To check out the archives, go to www.blogtalkradio.com/debate talk 4 and the letter U. You can listen via phone or via Skype by dialing that number 646-716-7320. Again, that's 646-716-7320. You can also go to iTunes to the podcast section. Just type in the search box Debate Talk 4 and letter U, and you'll see the show pop up absolutely free. You can check out season 1 all the way up to the present season and enjoy the entire show. So keep it locked on Debate Talk Radio. Check us out.
Peace and blessings, family. This is your good, humble brother, Basim, representing the DMV area. And when I'm not holding down my mid-level position in corporate America, I'm tuned into the most respected debate show on the globe. That's Debate Talk for You with the esteemed host, Sal Showtime.
Hi, this is Tyrone Thompson, host of the Blog Talk Radio broadcast, Talk Real Solutions. Please tune in and listen to all of our shows 7 nights a week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At Talk Real Solutions, we cover a variety of topics to ensure we speak about what may be needed in our community at any time. Talk Real Solutions is the hottest blog talk radio show going on right now. You can listen to our broadcast at www.blogtalkradio.com/talkrealsolutions or visit our website at www.talkrealsolutions.com. Also like our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/talkrealsolutions. You can call in at any time during the show and add to the conversation and offer your solutions at 1-858-357-8453. That's 1-858 434-357-8453 because at Talk Real Solutions, we want to make sure you have a chance to talk real solutions.
What it do, people? It's your boy B. Lit Dive, and I'm chilling over here with my man, Sal Showtime, man. And I'm just here to let y'all know that there's only one place that you need to go to hear the word from the word, man. And that's at Debate Talk for You, man. I'm going to slow it down, man, because a lot of people slow. I speak fast because I'm from New York, but, I'm going to slow it down, man. That's Debate Talk for You, hosted by my man, Sal Showtime. You dig? Keep it tuned, man. You already know what it is.
All praises, all honor, all glory to the supreme intellect of the universe. This is Nasi Yashuvel of Shomrei HaTorah in Atlanta. And if I'm not reading my Torah or suplexing some false deity, I'm listening to my man, Sal Showtime, and Debate Talk for You Radio. Beautiful. Keep doing the good work, brother, bringing forth the information and spreading that love.
Holy greetings to you all. This is Minister DeAndre from Heirs of the Promise Ministries. It's been a while since the Debate Talk for You audience has heard from me. That's because on this year, April 8th, 2015, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, also called ALL. And also, I found out I had a chromosome called the Philadelphia chromosome, which meant I would have to have a stem cell bone marrow transplant. Well, through the Be the Match registry, worldwide registry, the doctors did find me a 100% unrelated donor, and I had that stem cell bone marrow transplant on July 18th of this year. And I'm proud to say, through the grace and mercy and healing power of the Most High, I am cancer-free. Hallelujah. Now I need you guys, the Debate Talk for You audience, to go to my GoFundMe account, gofundme.com/QZ4SEBVC. That's gofundme.com/QZ4SEBVC and give a donation, and I would appreciate it, your love and support. I'm looking forward to coming minister to you guys in the near future. Peace and blessings to you all.
Hello, everybody out there listening in. This is Brother LeVar, co-teacher of Absolute Bible Truth Ministry. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge and give reverence and credence to the Father of all creation, the Holy One of Israel. Peace and blessings in the name of our Lord and King, the Messiah, Jesus Christ. I want to take this great opportunity to invite you guys to the Absolute Bible Truth broadcast on Blog Talk Radio. If you love to hear the word or have any questions concerning the word, call in and dial 646-716-8249. That's 646-716-8249. We are live on the air every Saturday, the Most High's weekly Sabbath, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to listen in via internet, type in www.blogtalkradio.com/Absolute Bible Truth. We also have a Facebook page. Just type in Absolute Bible Truth, all one word, in the search engine. At ABT, we teach the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth concerning the Word of God while leaving out all personal opinions, speculations, and beliefs. Our ministry believes emphatically that the Bible is indeed the absolute truth, and we pride ourselves in bringing forth the Word in a clear, intelligent fashion so that the body of Christ will be edified in abundance. I love you guys, pray our strength in Christ, and we will do the same for you. Shalom.
This is Renald Francoeur representing from Atlanta, Georgia. And when I'm not busy in the studio, I'm checking out Debate Talk for You Radio. Keep up the great work, Sal Showtime.
What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another show. You're now listening to Season 6 of Debate Talk Free Radio. Of course, I'm your host, Sal, and we are back with another great show for you guys. Well, once again, we are back each and every Monday. You know what time it is. This is the Relationship Challenge segment of Debate Talk Free Radio. We will talk about everything relationships, and this is Volume 15 right now, Debate Talk Free Radio. For those of you that missed or just for your first time checking out the show, you can go back and check out the archives. Go to www.blogtalkradio.com/Debate Talk for you. Check out the archives, or you can go to YouTube. Shout out to the YouTube family out there. Go to youtube.com/Debate Talk for you. You can also go to the iTunes podcast and check out the show. Download it absolutely free, and you can check it out. All right, so let's get this thing started, guys. Today's show is actually entitled, Is Birth Control Unlawful? Once again, is birth control unlawful? Let me introduce Muna. I see you got to press number 1 if you're out there. Press number 1. There you go. Welcome to the show.
All right. Thank you for having me. Praise be to the Most High. Well, praise be to the Most High. The Holy One, this is the Muna Yisrael. Thank you for having me once again this week, and I look forward to the conversation. How are you today, Brother Sal?
All right. Is there anything you want to announce to the people each and every week? You know, you got to let the people know about the book. Got to let them know about that.
Yeah, my brother, my keeper is out. It's out there. We're getting some feedback. You know, definitely brothers and sisters buying it, reading it to their children, having their children reading it. It's a narrative about our culture, you know, about sibling rivalry and how to get beyond that, controlling the spirit. It's kind of taken off of the whole moral of the story with Cain and Abel. And it's about two twin brothers named Asher and Joab, and you get to follow them on their journey. And this very special thing about it is that I wrote it with my young 8-year-old daughter, and, you know, she's proud of it. It's her first published work. So all praise be to the Most High. If you can, go ahead and go to mybookbag.org, and you can get a sneak peek at the first chapter, as well as that will take you to where you can buy it on Amazon, Create Space, or just hit me up, and I'll go ahead and give you the links on that. And, of course, you have Angry Black Woman Syndrome. That's still out there, as well as other books that are coming soon. And so definitely continue to look out for that.
All right, by the way, family, the chat room is officially open for those of you that don't want to call in but want to relay your questions. You can just type it in inside the chat room. If you want to gain access to the chat room, you have to go to blogtalkradio.com/Debate Talk for you. Click on the show, it's Birth Control Unlawful, and when you scroll down at the bottom, you're going to see a little box there where you can type in your questions, and I'll read them out to the panel. Or send me an email at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. Everybody knows I read out the questions each and every segment, so feel free to email. Let's go to the home panel. Let's go to Mayana. Welcome to the show. Hey, how you doing, Mayana? Are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Can you
hear me now?
Yeah. Okay, I got you now.
Cool. Look at that. Yeah, I was in I guess I should go still on mute. Okay. Well, shalom, everybody. All praises to the Most High. Greetings from Brooklyn. Prayerfully, we will find the segment edifying, as it's an important subject that's on the mind of the people. As you know, we work very hard on several projects aimed at providing the best possible information according to what the ancestors have recorded and left for us. To that end, you can look to an organized space of learning where some of us have teamed up to share the mechanics of practical skills like navigating personal relationships and trades, including how to write and publish a book. And Muna is leading the forefront on that, in addition to studies on culture, which in many cases are approached from a holistic view. My personal projects include launching Genesis 2 Ministries, which concentrates on getting accurate and affirming information out to women, both through physical workshops and social media, and G2M Inc., which does print work like many of the promotions you have seen for this segment, other Debate Talk for You discussions and professional documents. Hustle for it means the scribe, so I write a lot, read a lot, research a lot, and do what scribes do for the people, from leisure to law. Until the website goes live, you can still contact me at g.soferet@gmail.com. That's THE.SOFERET@gmail.com.
There you go, Mayana. You stepping it up with the intros. There we go. I like that. There we go. Radio show mode now. There we go. All right, so let's go to my brother, Award the Swordsman. Welcome to the show, Award. How you doing?
Hey, shalom, brother. All praise to the Most High. My name is Oshai. Shalom to my two sisters. Good to be on the show. Ready to roll. And keep looking out for my show. I'll just be busy. I'm going to put it out there. It's just hard to film, so I'm in so much different stuff. But that's all I got to say on that.
All right, so, we always invite special guests to join us in a relationship challenge. So let's go to the first special guest. Let's go to Davaughn Mays. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, my brother? I appreciate you being here, man. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Peace to the panel. Hope everybody's doing good. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I was just keying in on the YouTube, and I seen the debate challenge or debate talk radio. I've been listening, trying to catch up on everything, and like I said, thanks for having me, Sal. I really appreciate it.
Now, my brother right here, he actually reached out to me via email, and he actually was offering me a whole bunch of books to give to the listening audience, and I appreciate the brother. So, as a matter of fact, tonight, for calling number 3 and number 4, we're going to give away some free books courtesy of my brother Davaughn. And let him know some of the books that you want to give away, some of the books. Let him know. Go ahead.
We can deal with, I have a series called Confusion of Gentiles, which is right now a 14-book series. I got poetry books. They're pretty much all independent. But I do have a book called The Woes and Wows of Weddings and Vows, dealing with our relationship challenge. I think idolatry is a huge issue, so I want to touch on that. And I see a lot of race issues today. I have a book called Banished, dealing with that, showing how everybody's dealt with this slavery issue. There ain't nothing new under the sun. So, thank you.
All right, so once again, we're going to get some free books to call number 3 and number 4. What y'all do is, once you're calling number 3 and number 4, you're going to send me an email with your mailing address, and, of course, I'm going to relay it to Davaughn, and he'll send you those books as soon as possible. So, of course, we appreciate the brother being on the panel. And let me see. Let's go to the next person. 917-586. Who am I speaking to? 917-586.
How you doing, brother? It's Ahmathyahs.
Hey, what's happening, man? Oh, you just pressed number 1? Just stand by?
Yeah, I did. I pressed number 1.
Okay. All right, so to stand by. Hold on. I'm going to bring you in when it's questioning time. We're waiting for, actually, Yada Gatora. Hopefully, I'm going to try to get back to her in the background. But we can start the show right now. In the meanwhile, and, of course, everybody, to avoid background noise, just mute your mics if you're not speaking. And, of course, there's no foul language. Got to keep it clean, keep it professional. Ramona, take it away.
All right, like I said, again, all praises to the Most High. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Today, if you've been following, we're up to the 15th one, if you could believe it, and we have been just touching on every aspect of the relationship as it relates to husband to wife, man to woman, as well as loosely how are we supposed to relate to one another. And being that this the male-female aspect is mostly troubled, this is why we're concentrating. So this one comes up a lot because of the way in which it is being taught, and that is birth control unlawful? And when we mean unlawful, for those who are listening, as it relates to Torah, which is universal laws and principles of creation. So according to the laws that govern us, is this a right thing to do? Is this a wrong thing to do? And if it is, then what does one do? If they have children, if they have 8, 9, 10 children, and the man wants more. All of these things we're going to kind of address tonight and touch on, and hopefully shine some light for those who may be out there confused or not know which direction to go. So with that said, everyone goes to Genesis 1 and 26 through 28. So we're going to start off there as it relates to the command. This is where people will often take you to say, yes, see, it is unlawful, because right here, praise be to the Most High, in the first chapter of Genesis 26, it says, and the Most High said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creep upon it. And so the Most High created man in his own image, and in the image of the Most High created he him. Male and female created he them. And then this is where you get to right here. And the Most High blessed them, and the Most High said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over everything living thing that move upon the earth. So this is like at the forefront of the command for humanity to be fruitful and multiply. So contraceptive, or going against conception, or birth control, controlling the birth, is something that is controversial. So with that said, I just want to open up with that in the very better sheet or beginning of the text, and then hopefully we'll go from there and, like I said, address some of the questions that are lingering and possibly have some realistic solutions as to what people can do who may find themselves in this space and time. So with that said, I'm going to open it up, and if those who are new and you're unfamiliar with the process, we usually open it up on the round table. Everybody gives their opening thoughts. There's no need to rush because we have, a good amount of time. And so we usually open it up, and then when we go around again, we build on that previous thought or address something that somebody else has said. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Sister Mayana. Sister Mayana, the mic is yours.
By the way, Amuna, just to let you know, upon an interruption, Ahmathyahs is joining us right now. Ahmathyahs is joining us.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Can I get the brother's name again?
Ahmathyah.
Oh, Ahmathyah, Brother Ahmathyah from last week, and then our new guest.
Yeah, Davaughn.
Okay, Brother Ahmathyah and Brother Davaughn. All right, thank you. All right, Sister Mayana, the mic is yours.
Oh, I thought we were going to let Ahmathyah go ahead and introduce since he missed that one. You want to say something real quick?
You can do that as well. Go ahead.
No, he's waving to me, telling me to go ahead. Go ahead. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. All right, well, as the sister said, we're going to deal with birth control and the idea of going against allowing for progeny to come forth from particular activities. When reflecting on this topic, I thought about what birth control meant. There's a site that I like to use that will access every dictionary and glossary available and provide definitions for any given word. I looked up control, and 74 resources were accessed to define it. Many of them began with a definition that stated it was to prevent. Others said to limit. But the very first result came back as the power to make decisions about something and decide what should happen. That came from the Macmillan Dictionary. So the question becomes, to whom does this power belong? Who has this type of authority? If the power belongs to the Creator, then we are usurping his power when we take it upon ourselves to limit or prevent what he has designed the act of sex to accomplish. Now, the question of would I say birth control is unlawful? It might surprise you to hear that I would say no, birth control is not unlawful. But my reason would probably be more surprising. For some of you, birth control may mean condoms, pills, patches, and potions, but for me, the list is much longer. Since we already established that it means to prevent the birth of a child, therefore, it includes depositing sperm anywhere with vaginal, deliberate methods that attempt to avoid contraception, and even abstinence. To be accurate, not engaging in sex at all controls, in fact, eliminates the possibility of birth. I think a lot of people could really benefit from just not having sex, especially if the product of sex is so unappealing. When a couple is prepared to accept that their procreative activities and what their procreative activities imply, then the desire to prevent and the intended consequence for that activity is eliminated instead of the birth of the child. So what I'm saying here is that if I were to include all of the possible avenues for controlling birth, abstinence happens to be one of them. But that's not unlawful. It's responsible. If you know that an activity results in a particular consequence, if you abstain from doing something you are not prepared to enter into, then that's lawful. But engaging in an activity that you are willfully saying that you will not take responsibility for, that you are willfully saying that you are going to usurp the intention and authority of the Most High to pursue your own pleasures, then that is unlawful. So that would be the reason why I would say that, because I don't know if this is already alluded to, we already don't have to discuss Genesis, but we see the consequences in Jasher the second chapter, the 17th through 25th verse, which makes it very clear that controlling the reproductive effects of sex is considered a trespass against the commandments. So I would say that the most lawful way to practice birth control is to practice self-control and not engage in activities that have a prescribed end result. And with that, I yield the mic.
All right, that was the opening statement, very surprising statement of Sister Mayana, which we're going to definitely explore as we go on and break down or unpack some of the things that she just shared, and I look forward to that as well. But I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Brother Awar. At this point, Brother Awar, your opening statements, is birth control unlawful?
Yes. Birth control is most definitely lawful. And I want to say this, right? I want to look at the hidden agenda behind birth control, okay, and where it stemmed from. It's all in the bundle of Planned Parenthood, that same conspiracy. And this been happening since Israel been in existence. There's been a conspiracy to kill off the offspring of the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm going to go to Psalms right quick, too. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The heathens are those that are not Israelites. Then it says, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Okay? Then I want to go to Psalms 83, and let's see who this great conspiracy to destroy us as a people, which consists of these different devices like birth control, abortion, all the other stuff. Okay? This is Psalms 83. Keep not thou silence, O power, do not thy peace, and be not still, O Lord. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head, and they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. One of these tactics of crafty counsel is like Planned Parenthood, the birth control pills. So you're looking at it we're looking at it as an aspect of, yes, control the birth. Like birth is something like a bad omen. But when you read the scripture, I'm going to go into it later in the book of Exodus, how Israel always multiplied. So the Lord was against killing babies or cutting off birth. Okay? The Lord's against that. Even when we were in captivity like in Egypt, and I'm going to prove it later, that we multiplied. Okay? That's a major thing with the nation. And I'm going to pull out also later that this is all a conspiracy. Let me finish reading this. It says, keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Father. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. The birth control, the abortions, all of that is a part of the conspiracy to destroy the nation of Israel. With that, I'm going to pass the mic.
All right, you heard it. That was the voice of Brother Award, the swordsman. And the question on the table for those who have just joined us is birth control unlawful? We're up into the opening round right now, so we're hearing everyone's opening thoughts before we continue to build on that thought. So at this point, I'm going to go to Brother Ahmathyahs, and at this point, the mic is yours.
Okay, that was interesting. When it comes down to whether or not birth control is unlawful, I would definitely say that it's not unlawful absolutely. That everyone's circumstances and situations differ, and depending on everyone's circumstances and situations, you would have to go into whether or not using birth control is a good thing or it isn't a good thing. As we know, there's no real particular verse that really speaks on it, so we have to, how can I put it? I guess extrapolate meaning from verses that talk about reproduction and that talk about the need for sex, that talks about relationship and the plan that the Most High has for us as a people, to say whether or not if it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. So that's pretty much how I would leave it. I'm not totally against it because I understand that to put something in absolutes can be a bad thing. To put something in absolute terms can be a bad thing at times, depending on people's situations. But I do see how it can be unlawful in the sense of it can be abusive. Whereas if it's never in the couple's plan to ever reproduce, and they are doing it just for that, then it can be something that can be considered to be unlawful. And with that, I yield the mic.
Oh boy, Brother Ahmathyah, we're going to have some conversation as this goes around. Very interesting, very interesting. At this point, thank you for that. I'm going to go to Brother Davaughn. My apologies. Davaughn, the mic is yours to do your opening statements on the conversation. Is birth control unlawful?
All right, thank you. I think it depends on what laws you follow. I mean, I know even if you're Torah-based, you got people who only follow the laws of Noah, and you got people who follow the laws of Moses. So, I mean, that right there, if you go into the laws of the Torah on a deep level, if you're dealing with oral Torah, then you got arguments about it as well. So I think, first of all, it starts off where you base your law. Second, I think it comes down to the faith. Most people don't have kids because they don't trust the Most High. They think they're going to be bills and I can't afford it, and how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that? Well, he said to be fruitful and multiply. Of course, he knew we was going to have problems. People don't realize that children are gifts. It says in Psalm 127, 3-5, they're a gift. You know what I'm saying? Blessed is his quiver full of them. Children, that people was begging for children. Now we trying to not have them. Got selfish reasons. We got. It's a different world. We don't have no rite of passage. We don't actually have an age we're supposed to get married. So we got all kind of other issues to deal with. And if the Most High said He's gonna make speaking of the nation of Israel as the sands of the sea, that requires a lot of babies. And then if you're dealing on the Kabbalah level, then people will tell you, well, people are born as reincarnations so they can correct their soul. So the more kids you have, the more people you help correct their soul. So it kind of depends on what school of thought you in. And then we see in Genesis 38, 7-10, where the Most High killed somebody, and He didn't think it was good that somebody spilled their seed because somebody was supposed to do the mitzvah dealing with his brother. So, I mean, like I said, it depends on the school of thought you're dealing with. You got the Jewish law or the Israelite law, and you got the Noahide law. So that's where I'll yield.
Wow, for those who have just joined us, thank you for that Brother Davaughn. We opened up on this conversation. We have yes, we have it depends, and I think we have more than one depend. Which is very interesting. As Sal always likes to say, do your research and seek the face of the Most High. This is a round table to kind of bring out all the thoughts that might possibly be floating around there. And really, it depends on what it is that we really want to do here, And so I find it interesting that we might need to go and define unlawful because that's what I'm hearing that we're teetering on. What is the definition of what is lawful and what is not lawful? And so hopefully we'll be able to go into that. But before we do, Sister Mayana went. She noted in her opening the Book of Jashar. For those who subscribe or read the Book of Jashar, but I found this interesting. I think it's worthy of reading before I go ahead and pass back the mic. In the Book of Jashar, the 2nd chapter, the 16th verse, it says this: "And these are the names of the children of Canaan: the name of the firstborn Mahalalel, the second Enon, the third Mered, and their sisters Ada and Zillah. these are the 5 children of Canaan that were born to him. And Lamech, the son of Methuselah, became related to Canaan by marriage. And he took his 2 daughters for his wives. And Ada conceived and bare a son to Lamech, and she called his name Jubal. And she again conceived and bare a son and called his name Jubal. And Zillah, her sister, was barren in those days and had no offspring. 19. For in those days the sons of men began to trespass against, they have G-O-D, or the Most High, and to trespass the commandments which he commanded to Adam to be fruitful and to multiply in the earth. And some of the sons of men caused their wives to drink a draught that would render them barren, in order that they might retain their figures, and whereby their beautiful appearance might not fade. And when the sons of men caused some of their wives to drink, Zillah drank with them, and the childbearing women appeared abominable in the sight of their husbands as widows, whilst the husbands lived for barren ones, only they were attached. And for those who don't know, you could continue to read on, but I found it interesting. Sister Mayana brought it out, and I was going to talk on this as well, as it calls in this second book of Jashar, it's you're rendering yourself barren. And we know, according to the text, according to our scripture, this wasn't something that was looked highly upon. But in this instance, it says when men begin to trespass against the Most High so that they can circumvent that law of being fruitful and multiply, barrenness, whether or not it was a liquid birth control, whether or not it was a pill, what it is that we have today, or some of the other methods, Depo-Provera, and all of these other methods, ancient times had other methods as well. You know, we can go into that historically, that it's not only a case with the children of Israel, it's also something that the world did. Like, for instance, in Egypt, they would take crocodile dung, if you can imagine that, and linen and honey, and create a kind of barrier over the cervix, like they have today, the sponge or the barrier method. You understand? So this is something that has been throughout humanity, so that they can engage in the act but not deal with the responsibility of engaging in that act. So it's kind of, if we can possibly break it down, what it looks like and what is somebody actually doing when they engage in the act of procreation without desiring the result of what comes by doing so. So I just want to share that, and I'll go ahead and give it to Sister Mayana at this time. Feel free to comment. The mic is yours.
By the way, before you begin, Yada Katora is here. She's with us.
Greetings, Sister Yada. So I'm going to come to you right after Sister Mayana opens up on that question, and then we're going to come to you. The question on the table is birth control unlawful? Sister Mayana, the mic is yours.
Shalom. All right, I had to unmute the mic. I'm having a sidebar conversation with our brother Ahmathyah on the topic. So we're going into it, the second round of this, and we brought out some of the issues about birth control and how it is featured in our everyday life now. And the fact that we're going into these spaces where we're talking about our ancestors and how we encountered it. First, we did Jashar, where we see that this is not a new phenomenon, where for various reasons couples are seeking not to relish their procreative abilities or allow it to reach its fullness. That instead we are engaging in activities that have a predictable consequences, hoping to usurp that consequence and seeing no wrong in that, or asking, is there any wrong in that? There is going to be the case where we have to decide if seeking our own pleasure can take precedence over the design of the process. If the process is, for example, in talking to the system previously, there are several scenarios that come to mind. So I'll give you a parable. Let's say you know that we know banking institutions, their job is to give money. They deal with money. And there's a form or a process you have to do to retrieve those monies or put in money, whatever it is to do. So let's say this particular institution has a great deal of money for you. And you have to fill out Form B, stamp Form C, present your ID, do all of that. You present it to the person, they boil up the application and throw it in the garbage. After you have done all of the things that you are supposed to do to ultimately get money out of the bank, What the person does is they take all your efforts, crumble it up, and throw it in the garbage can. How do you feel at this point after having done all of the things that were necessary? Of course, there is the feeling of you have been wrong. There's some injustice in that. There is no difference, and you have done all of the things that are necessary. There's an activity that ends in having a child, but instead of having that child or receiving the reward, which would have been, in the case of your bank, been the money, receiving the reward, you have discarded the seed, and there is no reward. Scripture plainly tells us, and we know very well, that children are considered your reward. In Psalm 127, chapter 127, verses 3 through 5, it says, "Lo, children are the heritage of the Most High, and the fruit of the womb is His reward." So what you are doing and pursuing your own pleasures is very clearly contrary to the intention of the act. No one is telling you not to participate in the act. No one is saying that you cannot derive pleasure from the act. The act is pleasurable. But to enter into the act with the intention of pursuing your own pleasure and saying that the intention of the Most High is of no importance to you, that is problematic. That is what we're discussing. That is where it potentially becomes unlawful. Wherever it is the case where you have decided that your pleasure supersedes the intention of the Most High, you have to stop and pause and say, am I doing something unlawful? That conversation alone should give you that pause. With that, I yield the floor.
Very interesting here. What it seems that we're going into is the spirit of, like a lot of people like to say, the spirit of the law and the spirit of what it is that we're doing and why is it we're doing what we're doing. And like she said, if you're going into, as Sister Maya just said, and I'm going to come to Sister Yada, if you're approaching what you're doing with the sole intention that you don't want nothing out of it except for what you're about to get. And in the reality, it's called procreation. And so we already understand what the intended output is supposed to be. And the Most High is the one who blesses whether or not one conceives or not. But doing things and with the intention of curtailing that, with the intention of blocking that, as she's saying, is that an Onan thought? Is that a thought of one of Judah's sons to say, I'm going to intentionally make sure that this does not come to pass, even though I'm engaging in the physical act? Very, very interesting stuff. I'm going to go to Sister Yada at this point as we dig a little bit deeper into this conversation of is birth control unlawful. Sister Yada, the mic is yours. Sister Yada, are you there?
Go ahead, one.
Brother Sal, is Sister Yada on the queue?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Come, She, the mic is yours.
Shalom. No, I don't think it's lawful. I haven't really found, it, something that the Most High approves of. Because He told us to be fruitful and multiply, like you said, and in Proverbs 13:22, He said, "A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children." And I think that, like in Psalms 127:3, He said that children are the inheritance. Like we have a seed that we have to, continue our bloodline through and continue our generations through. And I believe that the birth control is a way to kind of control the population, just like Pharaoh did, and he tried to kill all of the babies. And I think it's just another way to kind of control us and keep us from multiplying and from growing. And if it's something that they offer that affects a woman's body so much as birth control does, it can kill you, and it causes all kind of reproductive problems. I don't think that's something that the Most High would want us to be doing to our bodies. And I think this year alone, if it's not this year or this month, or maybe last month I'm thinking it was, I'm not sure exactly the numbers, but I think it was 9,000 babies was aborted. That's a part of some kind of form of birth control too, aborting your children, which they did that back in the day too, and sacrificing their children. And if they don't want it, I feel like we just gotten out of control with the baby thing. And if you don't want a child, you should not be having sex. And I don't know. I know some married couples opt to, not have children and they adopt and everything. But birth control, no, I don't think that's lawful. I think it's a whole bunch of risks that's taking that a woman takes to get on birth control, and it's blood clots and just all kind of stuff. So no, I don't think it's. And I know they probably had something else back in the day that they used to use or do, like the sister was saying. But I think it's a problem. I don't think it was anything good for us to be doing to our bodies. But so that's about my views on that.
And so that was the voice of Sister Yada. We're going to go ahead and go to Brother Award. You brought up something interesting because in this space and time you also have married couples who, although they're married and they may have children or they may not have children, are still in limbo about this question as to whether or not they should, whether the man should use some type of prophylactics, whether or not the woman should be on birth control. And again, we're looking at these because this is real-life questions, real-life scenarios, and how would this affect them in the long term? And what are their alternatives? So, Brother Award, the mic is yours.
Yeah, I want to say this, right? We became so corrupt as a people. It's almost now we have to look at the animals for examples. The animals, they don't deal with that process of birth control. They just reproduce. And the Spirit of the Lord take over and guide whatever He wants done with that fetus or that child or that offspring. He takes care of it. But I want to hit back on the conspiracy with these Gentiles and these nations that came up with that process of birth control. Okay, they had it in these ancient kingdoms, but they didn't have it in this technology format like they have today, where they're destroying a lot of people. So I'm going to go like the sisters. I'm going to go back to Exodus 1, starting at 7. It says, and the children of Israel were fruitful. See, we didn't worry about birth control back then. It said they were fruitful, okay? And it says, and increased abundantly and multiplied. See that? Then it says, and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. See that? And it comes to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So this demonic mindset goes way back to ancient times. And the same kingdoms today who are ruling have this same mindset. Get the birth control in there. Okay, you're thinking you're doing something noble. I can't afford a baby. You have no faith. You're scared. But there's a bigger objective with these nations putting out that birth control in your society, in the Planned Parenthood. It's a conspiracy behind that. It's a bigger thing, and it's satanic. Okay? So let me finish. It says, but the more they afflicted them, this verse 12, but the more they afflicted them, and the more they multiplied and grew. So what's the problem with multiplying? This is what the Lord wanted. That's why I said, be fruitful and multiply in the beginning. Then it says, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. That's the purpose behind the birth control. They put it in our communities. They don't want you to grow because they know your potential. You got to look at the big picture. Then it says, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with vigor. Then it says, I want to read this. It says, I'm going to leave on this one. It says, verse 18, and the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing and have saved the men children alive? Hold on, let me go back up a little bit. It says, let me start at 16. It says, and he said, when you do the office of the midwives of the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then then she shall live. So here's a form of how they used to have the birth control back then with us. It was a man child, they used to kill you. Same thing they're doing now today, just on a broader scale. I just wanted to bring the conspiracy out, and later on, I'm going to show the effects of them, bring it up to today, how they're using the same evil satanic mindset to destroy us. That's what the birth control and the abortions and Planned Parenthood is really about. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
All right, that's the voice of Brother Awar. He brought in infanticide, which is something that we see. We also saw that happening in China as well when they preferred male seed over female seed. And actually they did the reverse for generations of taking out the women that were born, and they had, repercussions because of that. So that's definitely something that is still in the minds of the people, and I'm glad we're looking at it both on a scale of Israel as well as worldwide, because, again, we're examining the thought, whether or not this thought is a lawful thought to try to, again, control the birth. And, again, I have my thoughts on it, but I'm going to go to Brother Ahmathyah because y'all can see the babies are talking to me, so I don't want to be babbling. So, Brother Ahmathyah, the mic is yours.
Hello? Yeah, I think we all came to a pretty much unanimous decision or conclusion that I'm taking it to the extent of trying to avoid the consequences of sex as far as children is concerned altogether is most definitely wrong. I would also like to point out that some of the examples that I did here, although it was well put together, does not really touch on the topic as far as birth control. Birth control, as how I understand the topic, is how we're taking it. The direction is of us imposing it upon ourselves. In other words, if I have a wife and she's doing birth control, or I use condoms, or whatever the case may be, if it's a self-limitation, or me, myself, or we as people are controlling the births of our children within the home, most of the topics or examples that I've heard are references of outside powers trying to take the control the population. And mind you, they try to take that control of the population after the children were born. Normally, birth control is to prevent conception altogether. So it's a different story when the children are already born and you're committing and you're killing the children with infanticide, as opposed to not trying to get pregnant altogether. So, that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it, and I'll pass the mic. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, brother. Again, we're going to come around and continue to build on the thought as we define further what it is that we're referring to. And so at this time, I'm going to come to Brother Davaughn so that he can give his second thoughts on this topic as we're building this conversation. The mic is yours.
Thank you. Well, going back to Genesis 38, dealing with owning, it says, I'm going to start at verse 7. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said unto Onan, Go unto thy brother's wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. So he had motivation to enact his birth control, so to speak. And it came to pass when he went unto his brother's wife that he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give a seed to his brother, and the thing was in the sight of the Lord, and he slew him also. So what I'm learning is the Most High doesn't like that. He didn't fulfill the mitzvah that we see in Deuteronomy, the same mitzvah. So overall, the Most High doesn't like this form of birth control. He said it was evil. And like I said, if you're dealing with reincarnations, it says he knew that the seed would not be his. And why would he even think that? If you get a girl pregnant, you know that that's your baby, but it said he knew that's going to be for his brother, to raise up his brother's house. So the Most High is evil. If you feel you're from the nation of Israel, from the tribe of Judah specifically, that would be evil in the sight of the Most High for a man to spill his seed. So, I don't know how everybody derives their laws, if they have elders to go to or whatever. And so dealing with this, I heard somebody bring up earlier, the health of the women these days. If your wife is sick, you shouldn't be expecting her to just be popping out babies. Even the birth control, we know somebody brought that up earlier, causes sicknesses. I agree with the brother brought up the Planned Parenthood conspiracy. I'm familiar with that. So that's real, you know. Planned Parenthood is a monster. You know what I mean? So the food is not nutritious no more. I mean, there's so many different things you got to deal with when you got to raise kids. You got to feed them and take care of them. And I think overall, the laws that we dealing with that the Most High gave us deal with it, but I think a lot of people ignore them. And we brought up earlier the faith that we have. We don't have kids because we want to pursue all these other things around doing what the Most High said is our heritage. We got careers and we got independent women these days that a whole nother level. The men are the women now these days. I mean, everything is flipped around. I mean, like I said earlier, we don't have no rite of passage. We don't have the age of marriage. We're getting married in our 20s now, to where back in the day people had 10 kids by the time they were 25, 30 years old. So life is just completely different, and we gotta I guess talk about what laws are we gonna follow. Are we gonna hold each other accountable to these laws, or are we just gonna go with what the Torah says? The Most High said that form of birth control is evil for a man. That's where I can come to my conclusion as far as that. For the women, that's a whole nother argument. And with that, I yield.
All right, we're going to go ahead and check. Thank you so much. We're going to check with Brother Sal, see what's going on social media. Are there any questions at this point before we go around the table once again to continue this conversation? Like I said, it's something that comes up often, and there's another side to it, and hopefully on the next time around we're going to discuss the other side to it, which is if someone is being taught that birth control in the form of whether it be pill, whether it be the shot, whatever condoms, whatever it is that you're using is unlawful, is there responsibility for those who are coming together to procreate to, like the brother was saying, to measure how many children you're going to have? And is there a responsibility to say birth control is unlawful, so, you know, you're just going to seed the person up 10, 11, 12 times? You know, understand what I'm saying? So there's definitely another side to it, speaking about the responsibility and how does one go about being responsible with their procreative abilities. So before we go there, Brother Sal, is there anyone on the line?
Yeah, once again, you know that number, 646-716-7320. I see we got people pressing number 1. Once again, this is your time. If you have any questions or comments. Also, of course, I have a question I want to put out there before we go around again, But once again, that number is 646-716-7320. And basically, we had this conversation, me and Muna and Mayana, over the phone a few weeks ago on this topic similar to this one. And we're gonna put that question out right now to hear what you guys got to say about this. Let me see. I'll put it in the most professional way I could put this. Share your thoughts on the use of condoms, plus the topic of fellatio being used to prevent procreation. Is this considered an unlawful act? A lot of women, the fellatio thing. I want to hear from the men. What do you think about that as far as fellatio? Is that unlawful? Let's go to our water swordsman. That.
Man, I didn't see a scripture on it, but there's a lot of scriptures on things that we know not to do. There's not a scripture either. And like I said, going back to what I said in the prior show, if it doesn't have a purpose, then you need to weigh should you be doing it. Like, does that have a purpose? That's the question. What's the purpose of that? What does it bring children? What's the purpose of it? That's we used to have that talk too in Israel. Is it lawful for you to deal like that? And nobody really never pulled any scripture like it's a law, but they kind of left that out there like that, So but I just say is what's the purpose of it? Does it have a purpose? Is it clean? Is it holy? Those are things you got to ask yourself. And I'll pass the mic.
All right, there we go. Let's go to Ahmathyahs.
Yo.
I heard a laugh in
Okay.
the background. I heard a laugh in the background. Go ahead.
Most definitely. The only way I would tie fellatio into this conversation.
Let's keep it 100 too. Let's keep it 100. Let's go.
Yeah, 100. 1,000. I would tie fellatio into this conversation if it's used as a form of birth control. In other words, if it's used as a way to get rid of the seed, so as not to ejaculate inside the woman. If you do it that way, then fine. I could see someone making the argument to say that it's birth control and therefore that it's sin. But the act in and of itself, is it sin? No, most definitely not, because it is it is a part of sex, and it's not necessarily a form of birth control. Can someone use it that way? Sure. That way you can talk about fellatio. You can talk about hand jobs. You could talk about a whole host of things. But is the act itself necessarily a sin? I would say no. And to that, I'll yield the mic. Thank you.
All right. Give it 1,000. Let's go to Davaughn. Go ahead, Davaughn.
I have to agree with the last brother. Everything comes down to intention. If you got in your mind, I'm going to do this so I don't have to have kids. And, I mean, you have to consider, what if your wife can't have no kids? Then would it be a sin every time you did this? I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. I think intention is behind it, just like in real law. Somebody trying to hurt somebody. If you're trying to break the law, if you're not trying to break the law, and I think intention is the end game.
All right, let's go to Muna. Let's go to the ladies. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is an interesting conversation. Award said something very interesting. He said a few things as it's dealing with intention, purpose, as well as holy. There are a lot of things that all of the nations do. And as Israel, we were called to get ourselves in another category, right, which is be holy, for the Most High your power is holy. And there are certain things that we have picked up from other peoples. And because it feeds our lower nature and our lower man, we like that kind of stuff. But the question is, how do we stand in the sight of the Most High after doing this kind of stuff? So like Awar is saying, when we say, what is the purpose? And if the purpose is vain, then you got to go to what the Kohelet said, vanity, vanity. You understand what I'm saying? If the purpose is vain, are we going to come into account for what it is that we're doing? It's, for instance, here's the thing about purpose. A table is used to sit down and either work on or eat on. If somebody stands upon the table, they can technically stand on the table, but are they using the table for what it's purpose for? The answer would be no. And so we, within ourselves, because if someone tells us we're going to try to find a way to go around, up and down, and say we want to do it, so we're going to do it anyway. It's something, as someone just said, each and every one has to reflect within themselves and ask themselves certain questions. What I'm doing, is this what it was intended to do? What am I sharing with other cultures? Or is this some of the things that allowed us to be in the position that we are? I know we think, certain things that we do behind closed doors doesn't have an effect, but I would say certainly it does, because they came into account as the Most High runs them down to say, hey, this is what the other nations were doing. And these are some of the things, and I'll just leave it at this, Baal Peor. And as some people begin to look into that conversation with the whole Moabites and falling behind the women in the wilderness, Baal Peor, I'll just leave it at it's the Lord of the opening. So you go ahead and do your research concerning Baal Peor and definitely come back and let us know what you come up with. But as we begin to elevate in thought, hopefully we will be reflecting on this type of conversation. So thank you, Brother Sal, for bringing it to the table. I relinquish the mic.
Oh, let's go to Yada. There, Yada. Yeah, Yada, you there? Hello? 601, Yada. 601, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I got you.
Okay, I got a couple of things to say about it. Well, one, the thing about the man spilling his seed on the ground, I'm just kind of on the fence if the Most High was upset because he spilled his seed on the ground, as far as, him just not, if that's something that you can't do, like you can't pull out. But I personally think he was more upset because he didn't continue his seed. He didn't want to continue the man's seed as the Most High, had him he was supposed to do. And I think maybe that was more evil than just filling his, pulling out. Because I don't, after all of these people lived 900 and something years and 700 years and they only had 2 or 3 children, I think, it's the reason why they didn't have, 300 kids. If they was having sex all the time, 2 and 3 times a day maybe, every day, then they should have been popping out a bunch of children. The women lived, 500, 600 years. They were living a longer time than we did. So I just didn't see why they wasn't having, 300 kids and 100 kids and stuff, So maybe some way they were like pulling out if you can't afford it, or if you just knew you just couldn't handle all that handle that responsibility, then maybe that wasn't just a bad thing to do, because I hadn't seen where it says that it's unlawful to pull out, or and that, I'm sorry for lack of better words, I'm sorry, but so that was the thing I wanted to say about that. And then what you said about the fellatio, I don't think it's anything wrong with it. Because just like a woman's breast, it's for pleasure, and it just, you can't procreate on a woman's breast, or make children with a breast, but we know that it's for pleasure, and that's what the bosom is for. And I think it's the same way with, fellatio, and if it's like she said, for the intentions, if it was intentionally because you didn't, maybe want to have children and you were doing it that way, I don't know, maybe that is not, not a good thing in that way. So that's what I had to say about the fellatio. Another thing I wanted to say was when a woman gets her tubes tied, that is another way of birth control, because I don't think that is something that's lawful to do. I don't think that you should change your organs or snip your organs to not have children anymore. And same for a man to have a vasectomy, to have himself snipped. I don't think that that's okay to do either. I mean, it's not natural. It's not a natural process. It's something they have to go in there and do to your body. So I don't think vasectomies are lawful, or getting your tubes tied either. I don't think it takes a woman's womanhood from her. So with that, I digress.
All right. Let's go to Mayana, and after that, Muna, you can pick it back up. And again, we're going to take some of your calls out there. You press number 1, we'll add you to the conversation. Do me a favor, just press mute. Press mute on your phone. I'm hearing like some background or whatever. I'm hearing background noises. Press mute on your phone. There we go. Again, the number is 646-716-7320. Share your thoughts. Press number 1. I see somebody press number 1 right now. We're going to go to that person right after we go to Mayana. But Mayana, go ahead.
Okay, so the topic moved into fellatio, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Oh, yeah. Is it a form of birth control? There we go. Oh, yeah. It's part of the topic.
All right, well, in terms of fellatio, as it's related to the topic, apparently, and quite, to the purpose, one of the ways that prevents procreation, and to that end, it's inappropriate. To that end, it is unlawful. I guess that statement lends itself in agreement to what Ahmathyah said previously about intention, that if you go into any, and I think that, what we've been saying overall, is that if you go into any act with the intention of going against the order, that it is an unlawful thing. But in terms of it being generally unlawful, I think like you said, I think you was at the top of the conversation because you, myself, and Amuna gave some thoughts on it. And if I were to be consistent and honest while on the air, my answer would remain that if I had to have this conversation to refute it, I would have to use very secular, almost selfish logic. But if I were to be bound by Torah, and if I had to go round for round and page for page using only Torah, then fellatio is something, and cunnilingus even is something. Let me not throw things in there. That's not on the table. Fellatio, fellatio is definitely something that cannot be defended using Torah. If I were to be limited to Torah to defend it, so that's my answer to that. I'm gonna keep that real short. Ahmathyah, you want to say something? All right. Ahmathyah sitting next to me. That's why I asked her.
Okay, all right. Amuna, you can take it away. Matter of fact, let's go to the phone line. See what the people got to say. That number 646-716-7320. All right, so let's go to the phone line. Oh, go ahead.
Brother Sal, I want to add one thing into that. This is why Torah is parameters for us, because the human mind goes beyond and begins to add on. As I was doing research for this topic, I came across some interesting information that in certain cultures, they use anal copulation as a form of birth control. So now, on top of Brother Sal's question, now since everyone is saying, well, not everyone, I've heard some thoughts that, if it's concerning birth control, unlawful, but not, no. So then the next question would be, anal copulation, what's that? Because they use it as a form of not conceiving, as a form of birth control. So I just wanted to insert that into the conversation as it relates to what we're talking about to see, kind of where the line is drawn, if there is a line drawn. So with that, Brother Sal, you could go to the caller.
Yeah, I like that spin-off right there. We're going to come back to that, though. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to 443-815, live on air.
Yeah, this is a very good discussion. This is Brother Mercy. I just wanted to say that in the case of Onan, I think that in that case, you're dealing with a law in that case, a law where a husband and wife doesn't have kids. The husband dies, and the law says that the wife is passed on to the brother. And so the whole reason why this brother gets the wife is to procreate. That's what the law says. So it's not a question. It's not something we got to search out and we got to look and try to find. No, this brother got this wife for this particular purpose, to have children. So for him not to have children, he is going against the law. So going back to the beginning, we say be fruitful and multiply. No doubt. The consensus from the beginning, God's commandment, be fruitful and multiply. So birth control, we can agree, is unlawful. However, if I were to buy a new car and I go to the dealership is not going to just give me a brand new car unless I'm able to afford it. And that goes back to Matthew. Luke had talks about before a man builds a house, you should first count the cost. And I think that's the main thing missing from this argument is there's no planning going on, because for a lot of our people, what's really going on, they have children and then they depend on the government. And I think that's the problem. A lot of our people on welfare. I'm just throwing things out. Not everybody, but a lot of us are. A lot of brothers out there owe child support. I'm just showing you the situations going on. So in all those situations, is birth control lawful? No, it's not. However, because of where we live at, our geographic location, because of situations we're dealing with, that's why we got all the stuff we got going. That's why we got like in Egypt, they was killing the Jewish babies. Somebody talked about. But that's why it's going on. That's what you guys understand why it's going on and what we're up against. We should obey the law, no doubt, but we can't ignore our situation, what's going on. If a brother's not willing to work, then that brother shouldn't be. Then the fruitful multiply don't apply to you, bro, because you got to first get to that level. You follow what I'm saying? So I just wanted to keep it in context, because I think that's what we're missing is the context. Yeah, be fruitful, multiply, no doubt. Everybody should have children. I'm in agreement. I'm just saying that we got a lot of people out there that's not fit parenting, and that's all I say about that.
All right, we appreciate you. Anybody want to chime in on that? Anybody want to address anything that the brother said? You can go ahead and jump in. Anybody?
That was what I wanted to talk about when we go around again, is exactly what Brother Mercy just brought up, and thank you, Brother Mercy, for calling in, is the flip side of this conversation. What level of responsibility do we have, and does be fruitful and multiply means to be reckless with your seed? Does that mean to be reckless in planting and not taking care of and not having the means of which to support? Does that law exist in a vacuum, so to say, by itself off to the side? Or as Brother Mercy pointed out, is it interwoven into what is expected of us as a people? And at what point do you multiply and be fruitful, and how do you sustain or take care of that which you have procreated? So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, or see the thoughts as we go around, because, again, this conversation, this law is abused as well. And, you know, you have women with their wombs falling out. You have women who's in danger of losing their life. And on the other side, you have men making demands to say, you know, I want this amount of children. You know, as to say that the Most High give and take away, as not to say that the Most High is the one who determines actually how many times you actually conceive. And so we have this predetermined thought, you know, I was thinking, you know, I want 8 children. And then they go around trying to make it at all costs. Is that wise, and is that what we're supposed to be doing? So with that, Brother Sal, I'll give you back the mic to go to the phone line.
All right, once again, the number is 646-716-7320. Is birth control unlawful? Very interesting topic. Again, we have a lot of special guests on the panel tonight, and, of course, we appreciate your input out there. So if you're on social media land and you're listening to the show, feel free to call in via phone or Skype and dial that number. Once again, is 646-716-7320. We got another person calling in. Let's go to the phone lines. Go to 205-246. You're live on air.
Shalom, family. Shalom, everyone. My name is Yafa Ahmathyahs Israel on Facebook. My question. I'm sorry to cut you off, brother. My question is that I had 3 children before I came into the truth. I met a brother as I was learning, and had my 4th child with him together. And he wants 3 more children. Now, I have a total of 4 children. So now my question is, am I to give him these last 3 children, or, you know, because I don't want to poison my body with birth control, and I don't believe in getting fixed either. So now I'm just like, you know, I don't know what to do at this point. Any suggestions will help. Thank you.
All right, very good question. Let's go to Yada Katora. Go ahead.
Well, just to speak on what the sisters just said, I think if you guys could afford it, this is just my own advice to you. I just think if you guys could afford it, then if he wants more children, I think a man, you should give your husband more children if you guys can afford that, and if he's not just being, if you guys can afford that, that's my advice on it, because that's what he requires. But as far as the others, one of the guys said something about it being sodomy, fellatio being sodomy, or like in other countries they do that as birth control in the flesh. But I think that's when it becomes sodomy, because the Bible speaks about that, and I think that's when it becomes something different, when you're going to the other areas that's not that you can't multiply with. Then that's when it becomes unlawful, I think, to do. So that's really all I had to really say about it.
All right, Mona.
I think it's a good question. It's a fair question. It's one that, as we had this conversation all throughout, there's many things that I would have asked before that point. Things such as, and I know this is after the horse has already gone through the gate, but whether or not this was a discussion before time, whether or not the person entered in, both parties entered in knowing that, listen, I already have 3 children, and this is where I am. Realistically assessing the situation, because after passing through that point, now it's kind of retrospective as to what one should do. Another thing that I find is that we objectify our children. We make it like that, okay, I need this amount of children. But oftentimes we're not looking at that soul that's entering in and nurturing that soul. And as we go along on our journey, the Most High blesses us to be the conduit for another soul to come in. And so we talk about them oftentimes as they're not people, so to say. That's just so when I hear people, and it's not any shots at anybody, and we always have thoughts of what we want, but my experience in life as a mother has been that the Most High give and the Most High take away, and blessed be His name. And whatever we get, whatever we have been blessed with, when we do what we're supposed to do for that child and bring up that righteous seed, and the Most High see fit, and we enter into that thought, because I wanted to also say that Genesis thought is very important. When we heard in the beginning of Genesis, let us make man in our own image and likeness. When a man and woman comes together, a husband and wife comes together, if that's not the thought on the mind, then we're not creating on purpose. So when the husband and wife, there has to be a mutual agreement that we're going to come together to make seed in our own image and our own likeness. Here comes a child, if the Most High blesses that womb. So for anyone who is listening, as we learn these things that we may not have been taught before, these are some of the things that we can implement, because if not, then children come about and there's a level of resentment. Oh, I wasn't ready for you. Oh, I really didn't want you. Oh, I was trying to leave your father. You see, all of these things follow that child because of the environment in which the child was created. So I would go back to the table with your husband and have the conversation. Maybe the conversation that you didn't have before, because it's not only him having children, it's you two having children together, and both of you shoulder the responsibility of bringing those children up in a righteous manner. So hopefully that was helpful. I'll go ahead and pass the mic to Sister Mayana, or anyone else who would like to pick it up at this time.
Mayana, go ahead.
Oh, Shalom. So thank you for calling in, and thank you for being so honest about your question and your circumstances. I wanted to say that first. Beyond that, I hear you when you say that you have already had 3 children from a previous union, and now you and your husband share the one, and he's saying to you that he would like to have 3 more. So from a male's perspective, that's really about as far as he needs to invest in that. He is going to want this, have the activity that leads to that, but it's you that has to grow the child. And then, and I heard there was some concern about whether or not you can physically, it's the case that you may not be able to physically sustain 3 more children going into your life. So this is a conversation, I think, that I heard him when I say that it's a conversation that should be had with the husband, taking into consideration all of those things. If you're going to continue to have sex, with the expectation that you may have a child. I think that I heard one of the sisters on the panel say that you should do these things because your husband wants it. Now, I would say this: it is not what your husband wants; it's what the Most High is going to allow, or the Most High. Because you can enter into this activity as many times as you do, and if the Most High doesn't open your womb, no matter what your husband wants, it will not come to pass. And likewise, if you enter into these activities and it may come to pass every single time you do it until, things happen. But this is what's important, the idea of entering into the activity for the vanity of anyone. We talked before about the vanity of, I want to have this, I want to have pleasure and not be responsible for the procreation. It's not different to say, okay, I want to enter into this activity because I want to do this other thing for my own reasons. This is not for the glorification of the Most High. This is not to fulfill, to be fruitful and multiply. But because I have some number in my head that I want to fulfill, because I think that it's nice to have 4 children. And it's not the same. But these children are not, just like we have had to, or I have, you've probably seen me, right, because we share a group together, that women are not accessories to collect. In the same way, children are not accessories. When we read Psalm 127th chapter, it says that the children are an inheritance unto the Father, unto the Most High. So our progeny, although they are born in our image, or they're given to our care, they are for the glory of the Most High, and that has to be understood. So again, we talk about intention. We talk about accountability. We have talked about responsibility. And I think that all of those factors have to be in play. So I'm not faulting or trying to put any vibration on your husband's intention that isn't there. Instead, I'm asking that maybe we have a conversation where we consider why this number, what we're hoping to achieve. Is this something that is feasible for us? And do we really understand that this is not because we want? You know, it's not the same as going to get a puppy. This is something that the Most High is going to make a decision about. Opening a woman's womb is something that the Most High has control over. In my opening introduction, I gave the definitions for control. It was who has the power and the authority to make these decisions. Is it your husband? Is it you? Or is it the Father? Is it the Most High? Is it the Creator's power and authority? So whether or not you have 3 more children is ultimately not even up to you. And I think that removing that thought first might bring us a little closer to our solution. And with that, you know, I give this all that.
And 205, I'm going to let you respond. To stand by. I want to get through all the specialists to get to hear their responses to your question, and I'm going to let you reply. All right, so stand by. Let's go to Davaughn. Go ahead, Davaughn.
I think touching on the recklessness of things first, you see the Most High gave Adam a wife out the gate, Genesis 2:22 through 24. You know, that's why a man leaves his mother and father and finds a wife. That right there kills all the recklessness. If you got a wife out the gate, you're not out there looking and searching. And nowadays, you know, we get married at 20, but we've been running the streets since we were 17. So we done had a whole bunch of wives or whatever. So, I mean, I think it starts out with, like, you know, somebody brought up earlier, if we don't have no community, you know, nobody setting no standards and saying, look, don't just be out there chasing these girls and having all these babies. I mean, that's the recklessness. I mean, as far as dealing with the lady's question, with the husband wanting all the kids, I think it goes back to what's his intention, was it talked about when he first came into the relationship. I think that's very important, you know, considering her health, you know, financially. I think all the financial questions are lack of confidence in the Most High, period. I think that's one of our biggest problems. Don't nobody trust them. They always worrying about stuff, you know. Those are things we got to get that out of our system, you know. When we sleep, we're not worried about if the sun's coming up, if the stars is doing what they do or whatever. I mean, we don't control nothing but barely our thoughts and barely our limbs when we driving cars and stuff like that. So for us to be worried about if the Most High going to give us this, he's going to give us that. If I have a kid, can I afford it? That's all comes down to confidence issues. And I yield.
All right, Award Swordsman.
Yeah. See, this is where the Bible gets very complicated. And I'm going to tell you why, right? This is Luke 7, verse 23. It says, and blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. And the reason why the Savior said that, because back when he came to the earth, the Most High gave him the last say and gave him an order, what to say and insight on the future. And he said something back then to talk for the time that's to come. This is Matthew's 24, starting at 19. It says, and woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, right? But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of to this time, nor ever shall come. So what he showed us, and I checked it out in Scripture, there's a great tribulation that's going to come on the earth, where there's going to be global famine. This is what all this stuff is leading up to. So you got to ask yourself, is it wise to have a lot of children when you have to make moves? Tell you the Scriptures in the Apocrypha says we're going to have to live like pilgrims, you know, move in this place. So the question is, when your husband want to have other children, you need to have that conversation with him. In these perilous times, is it wise for us to have more children? You got to, because that's what the Savior said. He said, woe unto them that give suck in that day. That's how dangerous and how terrible these times are going to get. So that's all I'll say. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. That's the conversation women should have with their husbands when they come down to them and want to have these kids. Look at the time we're in. Is it wise? That's all. I'm going to pass the mic.
let's keep it at 100. That's we all keep it at 100 tonight. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go to Ahmathyahs. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think the best advice that I can give to her is to simply, first of all, take it to the Most High in prayer. Express to him your concerns, because he is your father who loves you and who can guide you better than any one of us can. He's the one that can pretty much bend the heart of your husband to do his will and to do good by you, to do good by the children that you guys already have. And that also includes the three that you came into the relationship with. I would also say for you to go to him and to talk to him, like Sister Mayana already alluded to. Talk to him, see why he wants to have 3 more children. See where his mind frame is at when it comes down to the children that you already have. Does he consider them to be his kids as well, or to his children as well? And pretty much leave it up to the Most High to guide you and to guide him as well. Also advocate so that you guys can go to the Most High in prayer together as a couple. Just because he may want it does not necessarily mean that it should be so. And so I think that you should come to him and say, listen, and I'm sure that you have already, but just stress the fact that you need more time, and stress the fact that you are looking for more guidance from above as far as what you want to do when it comes down to having more children. Because especially if having more children can bring complications to you, that's not something that you want to take lightly, especially 3 more times. So, express to him your concerns, express to the Most High your concerns, and advocate and stress to him the importance of it all together, and to you specifically to go to him in prayer to guide you when it comes down to making this decision. This is not something that you want to rush in or make a decision lightly either way. Either way it goes. So just take the time to really stress that point. And whatever you do, regardless of how your husband is coming at you, don't feel rushed. Because like I said, this is not something that you want to take lightly. Something that you want to take your time considering. You want to go into it prayerfully, maybe even fast some, and just take your time and wait on the Lord to give you your answer. That's the best thing that I can tell you. I yield the floor.
All right, got a lot of great responses from the people on the panel. Let's go back to 205. I got your name, I'm sorry. But what did you think about the responses from the special guest? And also, let us know, did you have that conversation beforehand as far as, making more kids, things that, let us know. Go ahead, 205.
Shalom, family. We didn't discuss the situation. Well, how it came up, it was, like I said, I was already bringing 3 other children into the relationship. And then this being his first child, he stressed that, he would like to have more children. I didn't necessarily disagree with it. He is a great father, great provider. Financially, we're okay. I will be 39 this year. And, 4 more kids, for me, that's pushing it. As far as age-wise. Health-wise, I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I exercise. I'm physically fit, but, that's on the outside. My insides could be saying something different. So we didn't necessarily discuss if it was going to happen or not. As far as the other children, my oldest child is 20. She still lives in the home with us, but, she's pretty much an adult and off on her own. My second child is 16, and he's in Ohio with his father. My third child is 7, and he accepts that child as his own. And so it's like I'm really bringing one child to the relationship, and he's bonded with my 7-year-old, and they have a great relationship. And I'm not against having children, but my 7-year-old, I'd had a complication with her, and I had to get emergency cesarean section. So my only thing is, I didn't have any complications with my last child. She'll be 4 months in a couple of days. I didn't have any complications with her, but, later on down the line, as I stated, I'm getting older. I don't want to have stair-step children. I would like to have another child, probably 3 or 4 years, but that'll put me at like 42, 43, 41. I can't count. I don't keep up with my numbers. I'm just, I'm health-wise, I'm just looking at it like that because I don't think I could take the just having 3 children back to back every 2 years or every 10 months. That's just something that concerns me. And also, like I stated before, I don't believe in birth control. Before I came into the truth, I did take birth control after my first 2, but it always had me sick. I mean, like violently vomiting and, headaches and blood pressure was off the chain. So I just don't want to go back to putting that poison in my body. And I've never, ever even considered having surgery to stop having children. But at this time, I just, even as far as us having sex, I'm so scared to get pregnant again that we might have sex once a month. And I know that's a stress on him, but I'm scared to get pregnant again. I don't believe in the spilling the seed as far as I think that's more of God punished him. The Most High punished that man because he didn't get the wife pregnant. I don't think him, for lack of a better term, pulling out is against any law. But I'm scared to be pregnant again. If you guys can kind of weigh in on that, that'll be helpful. I don't mean to drag this out, you guys. I'm sorry.
It's all good. We're here to answer your questions. That's cool. Let's go to Amuna. Get Amuna.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, caller, for calling in. This is something that occurs often. And what I found, even when myself was pregnant, as you can hear, I have children. So definitely not telling people, not to be fruitful and multiply. But there's a wisdom that we lost along the way. I remember when I was pregnant one time, I read a book called Childbirth Around the World. And there was customs around the world, even that was understood amongst the men and the women. Especially as Sister says, she has a 4-month-old. There was a custom, and even it was in Egypt, that you would not go into a lactating mother. You understand what I'm saying? And oftentimes they saw people having children very close together as irresponsible. You see this a lot in culture that's within Africa. You see this a lot in tribal villages if you look for it. That someone someone having children shows that we are lacking in control, because if that mother is nursing that child, then she's not in the market, let's say, to procreate another child. We even see it in the animal kingdom. And people like to talk about the animal kingdom. Oh, we like lions and this and that. But in the animal kingdom, a lioness does not go to bring forth more cubs until she has gotten the children to a certain stage. So the concerns that the sister has is real. Right. And it's rooted in, I can't with Mayana, it's rooted in that ancient wisdom that we lost. We lost that. And that level of self-control amongst the man. It's, for instance, we keep talking about sowing seed as though it doesn't have a time. It's, for instance, if you were a farmer and you had seeds and those seeds are precious, would you sow in the winter when the probability of you bringing back a crop is very low? No, you're going to wait till the time has come now where the earth is ready to receive so that it can give you the most. So I'm going to go to something that I found, although it doesn't say specifically, man, don't sow your seed in vain. In the book of Leviticus, the 26th chapter and the 16th verse, the Most High speaks concerning sowing in vain as it is the parable of the farmer. So I'm going to go there really quickly, only just to share this thought as the sister just asked the question. 26 and 16 in Wa'ikra Leviticus, it says, one second. Because it's a wisdom. Remember, when we got in trouble, the Most High said, I'm going to take away the wisdom of your wise men. I'm going to take away your prophets, your kings, your priests. So we were left in a state of utter darkness, disconnected from all things that will keep us in order. And this is one of them. You have men, not even sometimes observing the law of separation, not observing the 40 or the 80, and right behind that, or little after that, before her womb actually goes back. Consider this. It takes 9 months okay, to bring forth, or some people say 40 weeks, 42 weeks, to get to the space of your uterus being very small until it gets to the large portion of where it is housing another life. And in less than 9 months that it took to get there, we are looking to put something else there. And it has not even returned back to its proper state. And so these are some of the things that when we do it without wisdom and bring our children in this way, we rob not only ourselves but them as well. And this is where a lot of civil rivalry often comes in, where it is that they're vying for the attention, they're vying for that lap time because they don't have that space to do it. But I'm going to go to Leviticus 16 really quickly. Sorry, I said, 16. It says, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and burning, and ague, and shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart, and you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. That is like people like to say, that is a precept. No one on purpose sows their seed in vain. But I'm going to continue. And I will set my face against you, and you shall be slain before your enemies. This is part of the punishment. That they that hate you shall reign over you, oppressors, and you shall flee when no one pursueth. Right? I wanted to jump down quickly, read the whole thing. But on 20, it also says, and your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield her increase, neither shall the trees of the land yield her fruit. Now, this is talking about physical farming. But when a man and a woman go in and he's using all of his strength, and he actually exerts his strength, his life force, in order to procreate, and if he's doing it with the intention of not bringing forth, then that goes with sowing your seed in vain. And your strength shall go forth in vain because it will not be profitable. And so, again, we're not seeing a specific, hey, don't do this in vain. But when we look at the precept of what the Most High is saying in this 26th chapter of Leviticus that deals with the blessing and curses, we can see, like people like to say, the spirit of what the law is saying to us. And hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, there's much research to be done in this area, and oftentimes because it's considered woman behavior or woman area, it's kind of under researched or whatever the case may be. But the reality is when you see that woman is 2 to 3 years of weaning that child, she is not in the market to procreate another child. And that is something that is consistent throughout many cultures around the world, and something that I think we need to take another look at. So with that said, I will go ahead and relinquish the mic, and hopefully that was helpful in some way. And again, to the sister, like everyone is saying, I agree with the brother Ahmathyah. Definitely go to the Most High, and being that the conversation wasn't had with your husband before time, to have that conversation. So because again, this is a joint venture. It's not something that one person does on their own. It's a partnership. And so I'll relinquish the mic at this point. If anybody would like to say anything, the mic is definitely open.
All right, 205, you can respond. Yeah.
Well, I want to say something. This is Yada. About the sister, she said that she was getting up in age, and she was a little unsure about having the children. And I think that is where the lack of faith is coming in, because like the other brother said, I think it's wise to, like, if you don't have the finances for it, then it's wise to think about, should we have these children right now? But she said that they were financially secure right now. So then it comes down to, I'm sorry, guys, I'm driving. But then it comes down to, if he wants a son or something, or what his desires are, because your duty is to the husband, and if everything is okay, reserving intercourse from him because you don't want children, I think that may be a little, little iffy, because you don't want to give him any opportunity to stray because you're not, doing your duties, and because you just don't want children, and especially if he does want children. And, if he wants more and you're getting a little bit, up in age, Sarah, she was up in age when she had children. I think it doesn't matter how old, you can still have children, and your body will still be acceptable if the Most High's will. If it's his will to do it, then you'll have children. And I think if you have a husband, a lot of women are getting pregnant and don't have husbands to help them take care of their children, even, whatever age. So I think it's a blessing that he's there and that wants to, have children and maybe continue his seed if he doesn't have a son. I don't know what the situation or what child you have with him, a girl or a boy, but maybe that's what he wanted to do. And it's something else the other sister just got through saying, and I can't remember because I'm driving. I'm trying to remember everything everybody was saying, and I can't remember. But I'll probably have to come back to it. I'm sorry, but yeah.
All right, so stand by 205. I got a follow-up question actually. As far as making children, is that for a woman to decide yes or no when it comes to making more children? Let's go to Ahmathyah.
When it comes down to making children, is that something for a woman to decide? Well, we both know ultimately that's something that the Most High God is the one who's going to decide. He's the one that's going to say whether her womb gets open or not. But I do understand the caller's question. In a temple sense, I would say that it would be the decision of both man and husband to come together to sit down, to properly plan, to say, all right, it's about that time. We want to hear a little, pitter-patter of little feet running around the house, and let's make this work. I don't think it's necessarily one's decision over the other, because obviously both are going to have a part to play in making that child. So both should have some kind of a say so as far as to whether or not if they're going to do it. One person or one partner may have a different aspect or point of view as to the time and other circumstances and situations of the relationship that the other one may not have. So, it would be easy to say that no, that's up to the man to decide. She's gonna get pregnant whenever I want. That's easy, but at the same time, too, I don't think I don't think it's wise. I definitely don't think that it's practical, because you're leaving out the opinion of the person who, without you, cannot have children. So she should definitely have some say as far as when to have children or not. I think it's something that you both should come to the table with and discuss after the both of you get up off your knees from prayer. And I will leave it at that. I yield the mic. Thank you.
All right, Yada Katora. He's probably on the road right now. Let's go to Davaughn.
Technically, in the Torah, we see when it says "be fruitful and multiply," speaking to the man, there's really no commandment for a woman to have kids. So that's how I would answer that. But definitely, marriage is a contract, so all things should be negotiated and discussed up front. You shouldn't be pulling up punches, 2 or 3 years down the line, changing your mind. That can destroy the whole marriage, especially if somebody's got their mindset on having a career and then all of a sudden somebody want a baby, which is going to change everything up. So I think conversation, communication. A lot of things go back to communication. That's one of the biggest pieces of it, like everybody's been talking about. Did you and your husband talk about this beforehand? So I think communication is one of the biggest things. If you don't chop it up, anything can happen, and you're not prepared for it. So I don't see no obligation for women to have children. As far as the men go, I think a lot of egos involved with having a lot of kids. For a lot of men, especially if they don't know Torah, I think it's beautiful that I hear the women on here actually have a Torah background to make these decisions, because we know women have a different intuition than men altogether, and then with the Torah on top of it, I'm hearing some real good answers. So I definitely think communication is one of the biggest keys. I yield.
Award.
Yeah, I want to say this, right. When we deal on these topics, you have to separate from being under the heathen to these nations and the custom of our fathers. If you go back to Abraham, when Sarah couldn't bear, she said, "Look, go into my handmaid." And that handmaid didn't say, what you doing? She had to roll with it. because children was more than just, you're talking about bloodlines, airship. There was a lot to that. It wasn't just, like Bobby Brown humping around. It was an airship. It was dealing with the bloodline generations. Okay, and I just want to say this too, to put that out there, because this society teaches that a man is kind of irrelevant. It's not really, a factor in a relationship more than a woman. But I always use a scenario when I'm teaching, right? If you have a man, 3 women, and he impregnate those 3 women, you can tell who that father is. But if you have 3 men deal with women, you can't tell who exactly that father is, not dealing with the technology. So I just wanted to show the power of men as well, and how a lot of women in this society make a man obsolete in a relationship, because I've seen when women confiscate kids. This is my child. That happened to me. It's my child. I said, but it wasn't you by yourself that created it. So stop. A lot of women have that mindset. That's my child. No, it's our child. But I just want to put that on the board. I'm going to pass the mic.
All right, let's go to Mayana.
My phone was muted. You missed the heavy sigh. Okay, so here we go. A couple of things that I've heard I think I want to address. All of it will be relevant to the question. With respect to, should the woman be involved in the conversation and decision-making regarding having the children? I believe it was Ahmathyahs that stated that ultimately, again, that is going to be in the hands of the Most High, whether or not her womb is open. If you do the activity that leads to procreation, then the conclusion is obviously up to the father. So, but in terms of engaging in this activity to get to that point, then yes, absolutely, the conversation has to include the mother who is going to grow the child. There was another statement that I thought was interesting, that the commandment to be fruitful and multiply was not given to the woman. Unless my memory fails me, it was during the point in the first chapter of Genesis where the Creator is saying that I have created you both, male and female, made He them, and He gave them dominion over the air, the sea, and the land, and that the commandment was given to them, that they were to be fruitful and to multiply. So even, and this is why Ahmathyahs is my brother. Where were we at? What verse you at? Verse 22. Okay. Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth. So, no, that's not right.
22. Yeah.
That's 23. All right, hold on. You read it. It's like, hold up. So let me finish. I'm sorry. So anyway, the idea, even logically speaking, states that there's no way for a male to procreate on his own. So the commandment would not have been given to him to do anything on his own. Indeed, the Most High goes on to say that it is not good for a man to be alone. So it's never the case that a man should be doing anything all by his onesies. That's not the purpose or the intention of the Father. The Father created everything in pairs. And even in the case where Adam was by himself, the Most High considered this not good. So to the question of should women be included in something that a woman will be necessarily by nature included in, particularly the process, it seems only logical to conclude that, of course, you would include her in those spaces. To the point that Awar brought out regarding the minimizing of the value of the male. I don't know. I think it's subjective. I think that would depend on. It sounds like it's from a particular perspective, particularly based on whatever experiences a person might have. They may feel diminished in that role, but generally speaking, men have precluded themselves because they understand their role only but so far. There's this Johnny Appleseed mentality where there's I plant and move. I plan to move. So, it's only in the cases where there is a family, where there is a couple, that there can be viable seed. And then where a man is willing to stay in a relationship with that woman, that this is a conversation that is mutual, that is going to be righteous. Because, again, we understand that having a child is one thing, but raising a child is another. I believe it's one of the verses that were attached to the other scriptures we were talking about. It says that you don't leave that child, but you stay and be a part of that process. There's an epistle of Barnabas that says something to that effect as well, but in all, we like to talk about the epistles of the first century. Barnabas wrote a letter too, so I think it's the 14th chapter and the 11th verse, 14th chapter, 11th verse, 11 and 12 verses of the letter of Barnabas. Barnabas was Paul's homeboy. You read about that in the New Testament. But with that, I yield the floor.
All right, and Amuna, go ahead.
This conversation has taken an interesting turn. For those who just joined us, we are on the Relationships Challenge, speaking about, is birth control lawful? We had a call, a very good question, one that I've heard many different times. And, again, there's so many things that came out tonight. Hopefully the Most High lead your spirit to be able to meditate on that which you're supposed to get and then go forward and, again, have the conversation in the context of your relationship. So, once again, if you're on the line, if you would like to have the conversation, just go ahead and press 1. We're talking about, is it lawful? And we're also flipping the coin on the other side to look at, now that it's lawful, and I'll just say what Sister Mayana just left off on, is the procreating of the child is the one thing. How much of us is thinking about what it takes to actually raise that child to where they have become now a viable participant in society, and so it's not just about the multiplication of children. And people, then that's another topic, and where people think fruitful and multiply is all one level, that you, the one person, is responsible for the fruitful and multiply. But I will submit to this conversation that fruitful and multiply is when you have your fruit, and to the thought that men are only given that command, to me, I was like, because she actually bears the fruit of the womb. And I believe it came out twice with Brother Ahmathyahs and Sister Mayana. So she actually brings forth the fruit of the womb. Navel, the umbilical cord, everything to indicate that this is fruit of the womb. So, to think that it was only a command given on one side and not the other, that's something that we definitely need to revisit, because that's the thought process to say I have more jurisdiction than you, whether or not be the man is saying that or the woman is saying that. And so, again, I wanted to pass around this conversation to say, on the other side, once you've had these children, what next? What happens after that? After we're talking about, okay, looking at the Genesis 1 and saying, I have been lawful. Is it now then lawful to raise unrighteous children? You understand what I'm saying? I relinquish the mic. I'll go to Brother Award with that question. For those who say it is unlawful and you're supposed to bring as many children as you can, what next? I relinquish the mic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why order, a great order, should be structured in the house, as far as everybody's purpose, how they raise those children up. That's a part of the component of being fruitful and multiple. Like going back to Genesis when that was mentioned, it said, I made male and female, made ye, let's make man in our image, male and female, make ye them. I'm quoting it wrong, but what that was saying is, just like the man is engulfed in wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, the woman is taught that way as well. Okay, so they, women are not just, so I've said that to say this, that's the next principle to me. Once you fruitful multiply, you both have to be engulfed in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in that one time, to be an appropriate example to those children. I think that's the next principle in the next stage. I'll pass the mic with that.
All right, thank you for that. Brother Ahmathyah, the same question as we're building on this conversation, the other side of the coin. For those who are saying, yes, I fulfilled my commandment, I was fruitful, I multiplied, what next?
Well, after you fulfill the commandment of being fruitful and multiplying, there are also commandments given as far as how to raise children, specifically to fathers, both to mothers as well. But since we're talking about it on the aspect of the father, it's not just about getting a woman pregnant, obviously, and then just saying that I fulfill my obligations and then that's it. Your obligation is not done for the simple fact that now it's time for you to enter phase 2 of the plan or of the Most High's design, which is for you to raise the kids, to raise the child, and to bring forth godly seed. And there are lessons that he is supposed to learn from you as a father on how to worship, how to be a man for society, and how to treat his woman, and so on and so forth like that. So to say that simply because I got her pregnant, my role is done, that's pretty much like saying, wham, bam, thank you, man, I'm gone. I've done what I had to do, and, on to the next one. And that right there is against the Most High's laws. So we have to stay inside their lives. We have to raise them, show them how to be men, responsible men, men of the Most High God, and to raise them up, which is also a part of the command. So you cannot fulfill one half of the command, neglect the other, negate the other, and say that your job is done. That's not how it works. Thank you. I yield the mic.
All right, thank you for that. I'm gonna come to Brother Davaughn, and I'll add to that question is we know that in one of the Psalms of David we say you've never seen the righteous forsaken or a seed breading bread, and so with that being said on David's projecting of what righteous people are supposed to do and be, so the person has fulfilled the command of fruitful and multiply, but their children are hungry, or their children are not cared for, or they're heavily dependent on the system at the same time procreating more children. Is that an example of righteousness, responsibility? What could that person possibly, if you had a counsel to sit down with that individual, what could be possibly said to them from the perspective of Torah? Basically that's the question, because these are some of the things that are happening. I relinquish the mic.
Right. I want to dealing with that question. As far as I know, I don't know if Joseph had any more children during the time of the famine. So when we see economic problems, I don't think it's smart to be having children recklessly. I do want to clear up about the be fruitful and multiply with the men. I wanted to say in Genesis it says that he called man male and female, and Adam was the one who called Eve a woman, and that commandment was given to Adam. And like I said, depending on the school of thought or the school that you come from as far as law, some people hold that the people in Genesis are different than actually Adam, and then Cain got different kids. So I made that statement as a broad statement because it's based on what the text says. So I just wanted to clear that up. But dealing with the economic system, and if we're trying to have children and there's no jobs and things like that, I don't think it's smart to do things like that. Like you were talking about, somebody brought up earlier, everything has its season for it. You don't want to do something and set yourself up for failure. I mean, we do have our obligations to take care of our families and everything, and if your wife ends up pregnant, so like somebody brought up earlier, that's the will of the Most High. If he didn't want her to have kids, she wouldn't have no kids like Sarah all that time. So there's a lot of things to consider and weigh. I think the Torah is our foundation. I mean, I've heard all that tonight, so I really appreciate everybody going back to that instead of their opinions and their feelings, because we know feelings can turn into a whole other thing. So I do think that just keeping the Torah and the mitzvot is the obligation of men. And if we teach that to our children, the Most High is going to give us children to keep that going. He promised that he would always have his words in the mouth of Israel. And if we keep his words in our mouth, even if you're not Israel, people have obligations to have children, because Noah and them was an Israelite, and they had the same commandment in Genesis 9 to be fruitful and multiply again. So I think it's a universal law. What we do with our children is a whole nother issue. A lot of people throw them in sports and throw them in academics, which is all good because we see the exercise and all these different things. But if they're not rooted in the Torah, they're gonna go along with all the rest of the nations around them, like we see Israel do throughout the Torah. So if we're not rooted in Torah on everything that we do, then we're just gonna start yielding to the nations. And I yield.
Thank you so much for that. That was Brother Davaughn. I see Sister Mayana is back. So, Sister Mayana, the same question on the flip side of this birth control unlawful conversation. What say you to an individual that is saying, hey, man, sis, I'm fruitful and multiply. You know, I'm on number 9. And the economic system or the economic state is on the downturn. According to Torah, what would you say to that individual as they're continuing to populate but not taking care of that which they have procreated? Is that what that command is talking about? Feel free to share your thoughts.
Oh, okay. Thank you for updating me on where we are. Absolutely not. We understand very clearly that the Most High is not the order, is not the power of chaos. We are a people of order. We are a people of integrity. We are a people of dignity. So, you know, we're not on these grand population schemes. We don't have quotas. You know, we're not trying to populate the entire planet for the sake of population, because I think that we had a similar conversation between us where we know that any wise husband, and that's the very first office that man was ever given, was husbandry, his first office before priest, before king, before any of these other titles that they hold so dear. The first office a man was ever given was husband. He was tasked with husbandry. And any good gardener knows that you can't plant, or you would not plant anything, wasn't going to live, wasn't going to bring forth fruit, wasn't going to be sustainable. We don't have, we don't put forth out. I think you mentioned earlier not to put forth your labor in vain. And so if you are to bring forth all of these children with no means to support them, then these children do not become assets to the nation. They become liabilities to the nation. I think that in one of our presentations, you brought out an individual who engaged in who met his procreative apex and had many dozens of children. So was it 40, 45 children?
It was 77. He had 100 and 77 left after those died.
Right, and then what happened? He lamented that he had no money, that he lamented that he had no land. He lamented that after having brought forth all of those children, that there was nothing he could do for them. There was nothing he could provide for them. That those children could not become landowners. They could not become farmers. They had nothing that they could contribute to the community. So he had in essence sown all those seeds in vain, because now all of these children were not something that he could say added to his strengths, but indeed created yet another weakness, and was at this point not an object of pleasure or joy or honor to him, but instead something that he lamented, to the point that he was saying that he was advising others not to go the path that he had gone. Now, having stated that, Ahmathyah and I were listening as the brother clarified his previous statement, only to repeat his previous error. Because in Genesis, I'm not really sure what other schools of thought there are, but in terms of referring to the text says, and then our power blessed them, not him, them, and said unto them, again, this is a plural pronoun, them, be fruitful and multiply. So the order went to them, to be fruitful and multiply. Furthermore, with regard to the term Adam, in Genesis, the 5th chapter and the 2nd verse, it very plainly states, and he created them, male and female, and he blessed them, and he called them Adam. So even in talking about Adam, according to the text, is still talking about male and female. It has always been the idea that the duty of procreation rested upon the two of them, and never the sole responsibility or expectation of the male, because the male cannot do that alone. He needs to have that female. The order can only go to both of them. And with that, I yield the floor.
Hey, Mayana.
Karen, what's up? Go ahead. Hey, Shalom, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, actually, his call just dropped, and also Yada Katora call just dropped. We're in the overtime part of the show, so this is the dangerous part. Anybody call could drop at this time. But get him on.
Oh man, we just lost Brother War. Brother War sounded like he was about to come in on it. He was like Mayana, and then Bond, we didn't hear him no more.
You got Mayana always with it too. Call Mayana.
Coming for you too.
I'm always ready.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for. Sal, is there anybody at this time who has anything to say?
We do have another question for somebody pressing number 1. We are in the overtime part of the show, so you got to press number 1 on your phone lines, and we'll bring you in. Actually, the next person is going to receive a free book from our special guest, Davaughn. The next person that we bring in, you're going to receive a free book. All you got to do is send me your mailing address at the email, debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. That's debatetalk, the number 4, letter U, @gmail.com to get your free book. And I guess Davaughn will let you know what it is. Let's go to the next caller, though. Let's go to 443-815. Live in air.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is a very good conversation. This is Brother Mercy again. It got real good. But I just wanted to say it talks about, I think it's in 1 Corinthians, Paul talks about there are many teachers, but very few fathers. And Paul says, as a result, I've become your father. And Paul, he had no wife, but yet he became a father to them because they didn't have many fathers. Now, I'm pretty sure they had a lot of children back then, but just like they got a lot of children today. But we got very few fathers today. And Paul talks about it. He said we got 10,000 teachers, but very few fathers. And we got to go back to that point because Brother War brought it out when he talked about it wasn't just about having children. It was having children so Abraham wanted to have a son so he could pass his inheritance. His son wasn't just that's just something I could put on my resume. Oh, I got a child. No, it was so he could pass his inheritance on, and that's key. And then even when you talk about being fruitful, in order to be fruitful, in order to be a farmer, every farmer knows that before he can plant any seed, he has to purchase the land. He don't just go out and just throwing seeds in people's backyards. And see, that's the problem what I see going on. You got brothers out here planting seed, but they don't own the land they plant seed in. That's what I got a problem with. Get the title first, and then you can plant seed in the ground, and then you go through that process. But what I see from a lot of brothers, they trying to plant seed. They ain't trying to buy no land. They ain't trying to buy, So this is what I see. And I guess because I'm a teacher, I see this. I see this every day. I go to school every day, and I see this in the inner city. Just substitute one day, and you'll see what I'm talking about. A lot of our kids don't have good fathers. I mean, there's very few. Some of them do, but most of them don't. And I see a lot of single mothers, and that's what I see. And maybe that's why I'm having the problem I'm having, because I deal with this on a daily basis. And when I see this going on, I see a lot of brothers out there that, and there's some good brothers. Don't misunderstand. For those brothers doing the right thing, and then for the caller, I want to say for that brother, kudos to that brother. I'm glad he's doing his thing, handling his responsibility. I wanted to say that. Now, if the brother want to have 3 more kids, hey, I ain't going to argue with the brother. Get a man what he wants. He wants 3 more kids, get him 3 more kids. I ain't worried. But as long as he's being responsible and doing his thing. But I just wanted to say, and, she did bring some health reasons and all that. And, one more thing. In Genesis, when he gave that law, remember, this is before there was any pain associated with childbearing. I know we ain't talking about that. This is before the fall. So understand, he said, be fruitful and multiply before there was any other factors to consider. Understand that. So to be fruitful and multiply is good, but that's before there was pain. And a lot of brothers don't understand it because, see, we ain't got to go through the 9 months. See, brothers ain't even talking about that because we don't deal with that. We ain't even, the only thing we thinking about is planting seed. We ain't thinking about what the ground got to go through. So I just wanted to say, brothers, sometime, maybe one day, maybe we'll pick up a biology book so we can understand the mitosis, meiosis, and understand some of the scientific things our women are going through. So maybe we can sympathize with them just a little bit. And but that's all I wanted to say.
All right, Brother Davaughn, let him know what you got. Let him know the free book you're going to receive, brother. Go ahead.
I can shoot him doing relationships, the woes and wows of weddings and vows. I can definitely get you that. Anybody else know out there? I give away free books. I do a lot of community service, so if you don't want to go to the website and grab them for 99-cent download, get the free Kindle app. You can get any of them down to your phone or your tablet or whatever. I do, like I said, I do community service, so you can reach out to me on your email. Anybody can reach out to the email. You ain't even got to call in on the show. I send you the books for free. Go to Amazon.com, type in Davaughn. You see all the books. Just tell me which one you want. I do want to clear up again what I meant by the be fruitful and multiply was given to man or Adam. If you go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 22 through 24, I'm on Bible Gateway on the Orthodox Jewish Bible. It says, "In the Zela, which is the rib, which Hashem Elohim had taken from the Adam, he made he an Isha, and brought her unto the Adam. And the Adam said, This is now Etzem of my Etzem, and Basar of my Basar, and she shall be called Isha, because she was taken out of Ish. Therefore shall an Ish leave his Av and his M, and shall cleave unto his Isha, and they shall be Basar Echad." I wasn't, trying to twist nothing up. I was just saying, based on the text, the man was given the commandment. The Isha is what Adam called her. I know men and women got to make babies, but was Adam a male and a female called just Adam? Because there was no Isha, because it says in chapter 2, verse 22, he made an Isha and brought her unto the man. So the man was not the woman, just to clear that up. But thanks again, Sal, for the opportunity. Peace and blessings, everybody on the panel. I really appreciate in my environment, I don't hear a lot of women spitting Torah, so this is wonderful for me. You know what I mean? This is real inspiring, because women, out here in my community, most of them just want to go to church, want to sing and dance and clap and eat and stuff. So I really commend wherever community y'all from. Y'all got women spitting Torah like that. We need them out here in Denver. With that, like I said, if you got Amazon Prime, you can read all the books for free. I'm going to give a shout-out to the Crowley Foundation for giving out free scholarships to kids out here with the C average. Shout-out to NARCY and the Red Show organizations with the Boys and Men Empowerment workshops we do out here. And with that, I yield.
All right, and I know Mayana said she wanted a book, too. So we're going to give her a book as well. All right, free books for everybody.
Free books for everybody.
No doubt. Let's go to 205.
What are we going to do?
Yeah, I see 205 on the line. We're going to get you a free book as well, 205. I see you still standing by. 246. Anything you want to say, 205? And again, send me an email with your contacts if you want a free book. All right, anything you want to say?
I would like to thank everyone for their input. It's been very, very informative, and I will take everything that you guys have said and applied it. And once again, thank you guys so much. It really helped. It really did.
We appreciate you. Once again, don't forget, send me an email, debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. You get your free books. All right, so we're in the overtime part of the show, so technically we got like maybe 40 minutes left. But, we have the power to end the show whenever we want to on Blog Talk Radio. So, Amuna, if you have any more questions for the panel, you can first go ahead with the show, or we can get some last statements. Go ahead.
Yeah, we definitely going to get some last statements before people start dropping off like we don't know what happened to them. So before we get into it, I just wanted to say one thing before I extend everybody to the last statements concerning this birth control, lawful or unlawful. I believe it was Brother Mercy who just spoke about, getting more information on the procreative process and how just making a certain level of demands on one side without understanding what the individual goes through is very important, because after the children are grown and you have to still be there, hopefully, with that wife of your youth, So all of these things are very important so as not to build up within your relationship resentment, indifference, all the things that crumble something at its very core. But he said that Mercy was talking about be fruitful and command was in Genesis, but it was also brought out tonight that it was back. It comes back again in the time of Noah in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 9, and verse 1. And the Most High blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And it's interesting as we look at the genealogy charts. People sometimes, go to sleep on the genealogy because it's just like this one begot that one begot that one. But when you begin to look at the genealogy, it's very important that they were indeed fruitful and multiplying. But again, it wasn't to say like in the case of Gideon, one person have 70 children. In a lot of spaces around the world, your cipher is not complete until the child that you have born brings forth seed. Correct. And a lot of parents look for that multiplication of that fruit. And we seem to think, just coming back to the Torah, coming back to understanding that it means that we're supposed to populate all on the first level. I don't know if anybody's familiar with network marketing. If you have a huge front level, first line, and you don't have no down line, that's going to be a problem. You understand what I'm saying? Because you haven't taught your first line how to make a downline. And I'm just saying that for the entrepreneurs out there, although, network marketing is another story. So the point of the matter is, if you are having children and those children are not bringing forth children, you did not fulfill be fruitful and multiply. You were fruitful, but that fruit didn't multiply. And some of the reasons are because we don't make the fruit viable. Now, the Most High give children and he take away children, but the viability of being able to raise up your child, to show them what a righteous marriage looks like, to show them what a righteous union looks like, to show them what a good father looks like, to show them what a good mother looks like, and giving them right instruction that they would want to mirror what you have just modeled for them. And oftentimes children come through the process and they say stuff like, I don't ever want to be no parent. I don't want no children. Why? Something happened along the line that we mirrored something terrible to them. And we showed them that this is not something that you should aspire to be. And so when we broaden the lens on this fruitful and multiply conversation, all of this, as we have been saying tonight, is very important to consider because your children are watching. They're watching. And with that, I'll just go ahead and give the mic over so that we can get our closing statements, like I said, before we start getting people dropped off. So at this point, I'll go to Sister Yada, and then I'll come to Brother Davaughn, and then I'll come to Brother Ahmathyahs, and then Sister Mayana. So in that order, Sister Yada, the mic is yours. Oh, no, brother, you said her mic dropped.
I called.
All right, my bad. Okay, so Brother Davaughn, your closing statements on this conversation.
I think it's very wise to have the women weigh on it as well as opposed to the men, because we tend to, like the other brother said, we don't know exactly which I even go through having a baby. So, yeah, you could tell your wife you want 8 kids, but you don't know what that really is about to do to her physically and mentally with the postpartum and all the depressions and stuff that come along with it. So I think you really have to be very considerate of your wife, that she's going to bear you those children, and don't just look at your ego and, stick your chest out that she gave you 10 kids. And she's a little frail old lady now, but she gave you 10 kids. That ain't, that's not kosher. So I think the communication out the gate is a big piece of it. I think seeking counsel, like the lady did tonight calling in, is very, very wise. One of the signs of a wise person is to seek counsel. Community leaders, I don't know if, some of them are really real political with it. So I don't know if anybody tends to deal with the secular reasoning, which is usually Planned Parenthood reasoning. I would avoid that specifically. I think our wisdom in Deuteronomy 4:6 that the Most High gave us is sufficient to come to certain conclusions. Yes, we're going to err, we're going to make mistakes, but if we continue to have talks and discussions like this, it's like if nobody brings up the fellatio conversation, who will? I mean, we got to talk about it. You know what I mean? So I think it's very like I said out here. I don't know, y'all's environment is different out here. I'm out here in Denver. It's very diverse, but not a lot of Torah communities out here. So a lot of people are fending for themselves, so to speak, as far as what they learn and how they learn it. So that's why I brought all the different schools and different thoughts. I wasn't trying to say what the law was